We're now live, Chair.
Thank you very much. Welcome to this virtual meeting of the Member Conduct Committee for Charnwood Borough Council. Please note that this virtual meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and the recording will be made available on the Council's website following the meeting. Under the Openness of Local Government Bodies regulation, people may film or record this meeting, and this is outside of the Council's control. However, people wishing to film or record the meeting should do so in a way that does not disrupt the business of the meeting. Also, so that the meeting is not disturbed, could I ask everyone present to please turn off their mobile phones or switch them to silent and ensure that your environment is distraction-free. In addition, please turn off or move smart speakers, Alexa, Siri, Cortana, etc., as these record conversations and this could be a breach of the GDPR. As you know by now, members will need to introduce themselves and state their name and confirm that they can hear, see the proceedings, and we will be using the raised hand features in the participants section of the Zoom software to speak and will be allowed to do so in a queue system. I'm going to just switch my phones off. Excuse me a minute. Thank you, that's my main phone off. I need to confirm that those present, so when I call out your name, can you say that you can see and hear the proceedings? Councillor Ball.
I can see and hear, thank you.
Councillor Bentley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I can both see and hear you.
Councillor Draycott.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I confirm, can see and hear.
Councillor Ellingworth.
I confirm I can see and hear.
Councillor Haji Niccolo.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm that I can see and can hear. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
I confirm I can see and hear. Thank you.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Chair. I confirm I can see and hear.
Councillor Rollins.
Chair, I confirm I can see and hear proceedings.
And Councillor Ward.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I can see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much. Now, I would also like to say that the other people that are present tonight are Karen Widdowson from Democratic Services Manager, Sally Watson, Democratic Services Officer, and Nikki Conway, Democratic Services Officer. So now we'll go on to item 1, which is apologies. Do we have any apologies?
Through you, Chair, we have received no apologies.
Thank you very much. Right, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 21st of September 2020. I'm going to ask each member to confirm verbally that they are content to receive and note the minutes. I will start again. Councillor Bentley.
Oh, I'm struggling to unmute there, Chair. Yes, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Draycott.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Haji Niccolo.
Thank you, Chair. I confirm.
Councillor Murphy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I confirm.
Councillor Rollins.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy with the minutes.
And Councillor Ward.
Yes, Chair, I'm happy with the minutes.
That's everyone that is in favour of the minutes. That is a unanimous decision. Thank you very much. Disclosures of pecuniary and personal interests. Has anyone got any pecuniary or personal interests to declare? No? Questions under, we're going on to item 4 now. Questions under other committee procedures, 12.8. No questions were submitted. I haven't got any questions at all. Thank you. Update on complaints received. I'm going to hand over now to Karen to introduce the report for us. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Chair. So item number 5 is about updates on complaints received, and this is to provide an update on the complaints about breaches of code of conduct or potential breaches that have been received and any issues arising from those complaints. As I also like to give a brief update on the recruitment of the independent persons as well. So turning to the number of complaints we've received, for the 2019-20 year, we had 9 complaints as a mixture of borough or parish complaints. And I would like it noting that 1 is still outstanding at the present time, and I'm due to get a report from the external investigator in the next couple of weeks. In terms of the 2020-21 year, at the date that I wrote the report, there were 7 complaints, and all of those were either parish or town council complaints. And in respect of the final one, which was at the fact-finding stage regarding negative social media posts, I can confirm that the parish councillor concerned has actually now resigned from office, and therefore no further action is going to be taken in respect to that one. So that's in terms of the complaints. And then in terms of the update on recruitment of independent persons. So as you may know, Charnwood Borough Council shares a pool of 5 independent persons with a number of Leicestershire authorities. Currently, those appointments have been in place since 2015. And they were due for renewal last year, but you may recall at the council AGM in June, we extended those appointments for a further period of 1 year. There is now a recruitment process underway to recruit more independent persons, and that is being led by North West Leicestershire District Council. And the interviews, I understand, are actually taking place from now up until the end of this month. So expect to see a report at the April council meeting setting out to ask for confirmation of those appointments. And that's all I wanted to say. Is there any questions or any queries that members may have? Thank you. No, that doesn't look like I've got any questions or queries. Thank you.
No committee discussion? Anybody want anything to discuss on anything of that? No, okay, we'll put it on then. Now on page 6 of the minutes of the agenda, there's some recommendations, and I would like to ask each member to confirm verbally that they are in agreement with the recommendations on page 6. So I'm going to start again. Councillor Bentley.
Oh, struggling to unmute. Yes, 4, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Draycott.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Confirm the minutes. The report recommendation, sorry.
Hadji Niccolo.
Thank you, Chair. It is 4. I agree.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree with the recommendations.
Councillor Rollings.
Thank you, Chair. I'm in favour of the recommendation.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to accept the recommendation as well.
According to my records, then that is unanimous, that it's agreed, they all agree on it. Right, we come on now to item 6, which is the Local Government Association, LGA, Model Code of Conduct. I hope you've all had the chance to read this. There are some slight alterations on it. Have you got anything to say about it, Karen, please?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So the Local Government Association published just before Christmas a new Model Code of Conduct. This is a non-mandatory document, and we are awaiting government guidance, which is expected spring this year. So we're expecting that very shortly, possibly the end of April. The new Model Code of Conduct sets out a number of areas of change, which I've summarised in the report. I'm not planning to go through each in detail, but I'll just go through the main points. So the Nolan principles are encompassed in that. And also this time they include public resources. There's a section about public resources will be used prudently in accordance with a local authority's requirements and in the public interest. The application of the code applies as listed on page 13, and specifically it relates to in electronic or social media communication, posts, statements and comments. The word respect has been replaced with the word civility. And another change that's set out is that the gifts and hospitality is currently at the value of £25, and this has been risen to £50. I'd also add as well that the new code does not contain any reference to a sanction of any kind. And there is also no reference to any powers to suspend councillors without allowances for up to 6 months. In terms of next steps, the Model Code of Conduct is being considered by the monitoring officers across Leicestershire, and their intention is that a new Model Code of Conduct, a common code for across Leicestershire, will be drafted once the local government guidance comes in at the end of April, all being well. So the intention is that the monitoring officers will draft a common code, which will then come potentially back to the Member Conduct Committee and then on to Council for final approval. And that's essentially the report. Are there any questions or queries that members may have? I can see Councillor Rowlands has got his hand up.
Councillor Rowlands, carry on.
Thank you, Chair. You've sort of answered the question there, Karen, which was about, are we expecting Leicestershire or all local authorities in Leicestershire to come together and present a standard code, which it sounds like we are. I suppose the follow-on question to that will be, what's our position if we can't get buy-in from all local authorities? Would we proceed on a majority basis and put it to council anyway? Or would we really want every single council in Leicestershire to adopt the same code? And the second question is there anything stopping us having greater sanctions in our own adopted model code of conduct over and above the national standard? Or is it set in legislation that there is only a certain amount of sanction that can be applied to a councillor in situations that arise and when there are breaches? Thank you.
Thank you. So in terms of my understanding on initial consideration by the monitoring officers across Leicestershire, there seems to be a common theme throughout, and I believe that there probably will be some adoption of a very similar code, but there can be local variations depending on our own circumstances. And then in terms of sanctions, I think it would be prudent to wait for the Committee on Standards in Public Life recommendations. We've been waiting for those for quite some time now. You'll see on the work programme, we're still waiting for that. So I think that would help with formulating about the sanctions. I don't know specifically, it's something that I can raise at the monitoring officers group when they start looking at the model code, and I can flag it at that point for further consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Final thing, Chair, if I may.
That's right.
Just on the hospitality, I don't know how much that really matters because I've certainly never experienced it, but maybe I've just not been lucky enough. But I don't know. I've never experienced that, and I would think in the current climate it would be strange to raise the limit of hospitality that we don't have to declare, because to me, it seems that the world is moving to a more transparent place where everything's far more open and accessible and transparent to people. So it just seems strange to go backwards a bit with that. I appreciate there'll be inflationary rises and stuff since that £25 was imposed, but I don't know, I would be reluctant to see councils accepting gifts of up to £50 without some acknowledgement of it. But that's just my thoughts that can hopefully be fed into the wider consultation.
One point I would say about the gifts and hospitality is that it may not actually be a one-off gift of, say, £25 or £50 in the future. Sometimes gifts can be given that over time, so there might be a £5, a £10 so it can accumulate over a period of time. So I think it's just to have it at the £50 limit because of that cumulative effect over a period of time. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, please, on this subject? If we are given our, let's say the town council offices for nothing to hold our surgeries, how do we go about that? Because if you hired them for an hour to use your surgeries, over the year, if you had a surgery every month, it would go to way over the allowance. What? I know we put it on the form where we declare interests and declare gifts, but this will take it over that now, won't it?
So what you're saying there is that there's an agreement where they waive the higher charges, basically. Yeah. Okay, what I can do, I'd prefer to pick that up with you outside of the meeting because that's an individual case. So maybe that's the better way to do that. I'll take that as a way as an action to speak to you separately about that.
Thank you very much. That's lovely. Thank you. Does anyone else want any discussions on this at all? Oh, Councillor Draycott.
Yes, thank you. I can't get my hand to go up.
It is up, actually. It is up, yes.
My own hand, yes. Just to say, I thought that with the gifts, that you have to declare them, but then they go on to your, is it your website or your declaration of interest form? So they are public and they are transparent. So I don't have a problem with that. The other question I was actually going to raise is that I'm pleased to hear or see more reference to social media coming into play regarding code of conduct. I do hope by the time it gets to the end of the process that it is strengthened quite considerably, as we all no doubt are aware of what is happening in the world, and some of it is quite obnoxious and awful. So it started, but I think we need to really take a strong, firm line on any abuse of social media or any of that directed at people. Thank you, Chair.
Anyone else got anything on this subject? Right, okay. In that case, then, I need to ask each member verbally again.
Sorry, Chair. If I can just come back on that, actually.
All right, yes.
I actually agreed with Roy, and you mentioned over a period of time, but then you need to ascertain what is a period of time.
Well, I meant for a year, you know, the year that because you have to declare, well, we should declare everything within every 6 months, shouldn't we, on the declarations?
Well, we should, but I can't see, as Roy's pointed out, I can't see the point in raising that limit. I think the limit should remain as is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that is the new model code actually has a value of £50 placed in there. And clearly across Leicestershire, we're going to have the suggestion is that we have a new model code of conduct for across Leicestershire based on the one that's been produced by the Local Government Association, which is not mandatory, but it would be a good basis to base the Leicestershire one on. So I can raise that as a potential fact that you feel £50 is quite high in this situation for Charnwood. So maybe it could be slightly less or not. It's something I can raise with the monitoring officers. Thank you.
Chair, may I come back on that, please?
Yes.
There's two of us here that think it's a worthwhile thing to raise. Would it be an idea to ask members here present as whether they agree or disagree that the £25 limit should remain as is?
We can have a vote on that, can't we, Karen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see what members' views are. It's clearly, so we can feed that back to the monitoring officers group when they look at the Leicestershire-wide one that they're looking to adopt across Leicestershire. So,
Councillor Haji Nicola, you had your hand up. Do you want to say something?
I better ask the question actually by the end of the meeting, if you don't mind, Chair.
Okay, fine. If I remember, I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
So, are we going to have we can do this again by doing the counting and asking if you would like the amount to remain at £25 rather than increase to 50. So I will start. Oh, Councillor Rollins.
Sorry, Chair. Just to say, I mean, I think what Karen said is sufficient in that she will feed that back to the Monitoring Officers Association or the collection of them in Leicestershire that are discussing this. And I think that's sufficient for our purposes now without specifically voting on saying we want it fixed at 25, because in any event, that will become a full council decision in the fullness of time. I wouldn't necessarily want to see Charnwood depart from the rest of Leicestershire just for the sake of that, but it's just my personal view that it should remain at 25. But if Karen's prepared to feed that back and see what other local authorities think in Leicestershire, I think that's sufficient, and I'd be happy to just pass this recommendation as it is.
So now I need to make sure that you all verbally agree with the recommendations on page 11 of your agenda document. I'm going to start again, and it's Councillor Bentley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I agree. If Karen could pass that back though, as Roy suggested, that would be helpful. Thank you. I'm happy with that.
Thank you. Councillor Draycott.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, agree the recommendations in the report.
Haji Nicola.
Thank you, Chair. I agree.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with the recommendations.
Councillor Rollins.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy with the recommendations.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chair. I accept the recommendations also.
That again is unanimous. Thank you very much. Now we go on to item 7, which is the programme, which is on page 36 of your agenda document.
Thank you, Chair. So the work programme is set out for consideration. There's a table on the back, which is on page 36. Does any members have any questions or queries? This is essentially to note it, but you may have some amendments. Please let me know. Thank you.
No one got any question? Oh, Councillor Rollins.
Thank you. Just a brief one to Karen. I assume if we don't have the Committee of Standards Life, I can't remember their formal title, if we don't have their report on what they are proposing to change in terms of sanctions, are we going to proceed with the new code of conduct anyway? Is that the intention, or will the new code of conduct be held off until that report is made available so it can be adjusted to reflect what that report recommends?
I think there is an intention with that, from what I gather, is that the recommendations from the Standards in Public Life will be timed potentially with the guidance that's coming out from the government regarding the new code of conduct. Hopefully that will happen, and so it can be combined into one. We'll just need to wait and see if that is actually how it pans out in the end. So does that answer your question? Thank you.
Yeah, so I assume there could be an adjustment to the work programme depending on when things happen, which is obviously outside of our control. Yeah, fine, thank you.
Anyone else got anything on this? No? Right, I'm going to ask each one verbally again to confirm if that they are happy with the amendments for the work programme. And if you see the amendment recommendations on page 34.
Just to clarify there aren't any amendments. So the vote, if everyone can just agree, say if they agree with the work programme as it stands on page 36. Thank you.
Right, I'll start. Councillor Bentley?
Agreed, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Draycott?
Agreed, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Hadji Nicolau?
I agree, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Murphy?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree.
Councillor Rollins?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy with the recommendation.
Councillor Ward?
Yes, Chair, I'm happy to accept the recommendation.
Right, well, the recommendations were agreed unanimously again. So now I come on to the last item, which is to close the meeting. But Councillor Nicola Hadjalai, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You know, this actually just for my benefit. I fully agree that actually the use of media today is associated with false and offensive material sometimes, and definitely this has to be controlled. But I'm a bit confused and quite passionate about actually the conflict of this control with the freedom of speech. And, you know, I would like to know whether there is any forum where we can discuss this further and in depth.
Thank you. If I can just interrupt, we're actually closing the meeting now, and it's something that I can discuss with you separately. So can I suggest that we close down the live feed, because we've ended up at the close of the meeting and the next meeting is going to be on the 7th of June. Would that be okay? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.